Hello out there. This is Kathy Turner again. Welcome to my little world of China dolls. I hope to bring you some more information for the World Doll Day holiday, 5 days of Christmas. This time I want to talk about another non-German company from the town of Schlaggenwald. These are Bohemian dolls from Czechoslovakia. And these dolls were made by a company that began life back in 1792 by three people. I call them the three Johanns. It was Johann Paulus, Paschi, and Reumann. Reumann was the arcanist. I always liked the word arcanist. The arcanist was the person who held all the formulas for the porcelain. He was a very important person. They didn't have a permit at that time to produce porcelain, but they did it anyway. And subsequently, their company was bought by Louise Greiner, who was the widow of Johann Greiner. So here the Greiners of Germany come into play. And she ended up marrying a gentleman named Johann Lippert. And he formed a partnership with a gentleman named Wenzel Haas. So they formed Lippert and Haas. So finally the company comes into existence under the name Lippert and Haas, and then subsequently Haas later partnered with somebody else, and it became Haas and Cezek. And that's during the period which these dolls were basically made in probably about the 1850s to 1860s or thereabouts. Gorgeous dolls. These were a very fine company, very large company, fairly wealthy company, and their products were top-notch. So let's start out by describing their characteristics. This is one of what they call the Morning Glory model. And we have two examples here in two different sizes, and you can see they differ somewhat, not just in size, but in the quality of their flowers and their painting. I think the flowers on the smaller one are more pronounced and more obviously applied and more finely painted, and yet the larger one has a bit more detailed facial painting and hairline painting.
You know, what's interesting, Kathy, is in the camera, the shoulder head without a body, her flowers pop better than the other, but in life, I think the other are just a little more detailed flowers.
They
Isn't that
are.
interesting how that?
It is interesting. Some of the characteristics of these dolls, they often have brown hair, not always, but often have brown hair. They have typically a little glaze gap along the bottom edge. Not too many other makers did that. There's typically 3 sole holes, front and back. They marked their products. Let me find. This one is marked inside. This might be a little challenging to get a picture of that. Can you see that? They are usually stamp marked with double-digit numbers, and then sometimes they will have the letter S for Schlaggenwald, which is the name of the region. So Schlaggenwald is not the name of the company, never was. It's the name of the region, even though we've been coming to call them Schlaggenwalds.
It's because it's so fun to say Schlaggenwald.
That's why, yeah, Schlaggen-who. But gorgeous, gorgeous dolls. Now, the one on the stand here, we were debating the body on this one. I have several that are on original bodies, a few. And they typically have this kind of arms. This one has a lower body. I don't know if I can show it very well. That has kid leather lower body as well. That was once pink. And that seems right. What's unusual about this one is it has this unusual torso. Usually I have seen them, they have also kid leather body torso that comes up over the lower edge of the shoulder blade.
Do you think that maybe that was like the skin over it is just
Maybe.
disintegrated.
That's what I'm speculating.
Yeah, I think that could be what it is.
Now, this one is also marked. It also has the double-digit stamp marks. I don't think this one has the letter S, but this one's marked on the outside of the shoulder plate. So
Actually, I think it is.
Do you see the S there?
I can see it. It's right. It's marked in 2 places.
It is marked in 2 places, but one is, I don't think, wasn't sure it was an S. I didn't have time.
I think it is an S.
Could be. But those are the 2 ladies. And then we have, in his festive holiday hat, ta-da, the gentleman. You don't see too many adult male dolls, but they made this fellow, and he is a fine fellow indeed.
Wonderful doll.
Also with the 3 sew holes front and back. Also, there's just a slight glaze gap, and he's marked as well. Let me find it where he's marked. Oh, it's on the outside of the back.
Now, Kathy, in these faces,
Yes.
is there a variation of hairstyles?
Oh, yes. There are quite a few different hairstyles. I couldn't decapitate any more of mine because some of them were on original bodies. There's the bald-headed ones, which had wigs. There's some that have diverse different hairstyles. I think I have about 3 other hairstyles.
But it's not a huge variety.
Not huge compared to some companies, but it was a fairly diverse, and they seem to be more towards adult dolls in these cases.
And children.
And fewer children. Some of the bald ones, I think, can also be children. They were intended to be wigged, but they have a fuller face than these. These are obviously more adult.
So, would you say in the scarcity, commonly found, where would these fit into that?
They are definitely not common dolls. When you collect as many Chinas as I do, to call something rare, it has to be only seen one in my lifetime.
Well, we can't go by you.
No, sorry. Most people would consider them fairly rare. I mean, Morning Glory is such a beautiful model that it's sort of one of those holy grail dolls to doll collectors. They're just so beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But as you can see, there's 2 right here. So not common, uncommon certainly. And the other thing interesting about the family that was running the company at this time, so this was August Haas, who was in that period of time had the company, and it was inherited by his son George Haas. And George was a very pretentious gentleman apparently, and they had a lot of money, and he went and bought himself a title and became a baron. And then he went and bought himself a castle, the Castle Bitov. So he had a castle and a title to go with it.
Do you know if he passed the title down through the family?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, he did. And his son, George Jr., became also a baron.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy. And I apologize, there's some snorting and trucks moving, but this is live. So
This is live. We have our friend Abigail, the friendly dog.
That's Annabelle.
Annabelle. Oh, did I say the wrong name?
Annabelle.
Annabelle,
That's
I'm
Annabelle.
sorry. Well,
that's all right.
We love
Her
Annabelle.
hearing isn't so good these days, so
She'll
she wouldn't
forgive
know.
me.
Yeah.
But
all right.
we'll say goodbye then.
Thank you so much, Kathy.